Welcome to my presentation from Learn with YouTube channel. I'm Dimanjarul Islam. Dear learners, I hope that you're safe and sound, Helen Heart. I have already taken classes on different kinds of tenses. Today I'm going to introduce before you by making sentences to the name of tenses. That's mean you will try to know by making sentences, and you will also understand what is the tense and which kind of tenses included these sentences. And you will try to find out more sentences from your textbook, English magazine, or other necessary English materials. Let's start. First, I write down. I read a book. He tells a story. Karim catches fish. Attention please. First sentence, I read a book. Read is the base form of verb, but no extra letter not included these verbs. Why? Because read verb subject's name is I. I is first person. Mind it, first person and second person and third person plural number doesn't need to add any kinds of extra letter. That's mean s or es. And it's also present indefinite tense. And he tells a story. This sentence extra s also included. Why? Because tells sentence's subject's name is he. He is also third person, but third person singular number. Condition only third person and singular number. If it is, then verbs need to take s or yes, otherwise not. And another sentence, Karim catches fish. Look at very attentively. Main verb catch and it adds yes. And why? Because catch verb's sentence name is Karim. Karim is also third person singular number. Previously I also mentioned only third person singular number follow these rules. What? After third person singular number subject that verbs follows added s or yes. Now I can say before you that if you find such kind of sentence from textbook, from magazine, from English newspaper, you can identify its name is present indefinite tense. Present indefinite tense. What's the condition? Add s or yes or without s or yes forms of verbs is also called present indefinite tense. Present indefinite tense main condition, if subject third person singular number, s or yes will be added. If the subject exceptionally third person singular number, s or yes will not be added. That's mean without s or yes. And some sentences is also called simple present. Now I would like to show before you. I am a boy. We are students. He is an intelligent boy. We know am, is, are also auxiliary verb of present continuous tense. But after continuous tense, auxiliary verb must follow base form of verbs adding ing. But if you don't find after this sentence extra verb adding ing, but you have to understand this sentence is called simple present. Simple present. Mind it. If you find such kind of sentence anywhere from textbook, magazine, you would say this sentence is called simple present. And now I would like to add some information. These sentences are affirmative, but in before three sentences, that's mean 1 to 3, if I change the form of negative, then I need to add auxiliary verb. Mind it, present indefinite tense affirmative form doesn't follow auxiliary verb. That's mean present indefinite tense never added auxiliary verb in affirmative sentence, but sometimes added. When you make sure, assure, that's mean very much make pressure or force. Now I am going to write down. That's mean if I say I do go home, but after sentence use auxiliary verb then base form. But if I notice, if I was, this kind of sentence is not wrong, it's correct. Why? Because sometimes if you make pressure, make assure, then you can use after subject, you can use auxiliary verb, but not occasionally, not every times. If you write down she does write a letter. Yes, absolutely right, is also correct. Why? Because she does write letter. That means she must write a letter. Understand? And in the present indefinite tenses, form of negative, interrogative and negative, you can add auxiliary verb. Present indefinite tenses auxiliary verb name is do or does. In this way, only third person singular number, after third person singular number subjects, you can use doesn't, negative form, and in the rest of form you can use don't. Mind it. And when you can use doesn't, then you don't need to use s or es. Mind it. You don't need to use. Because only affirmative form use s or es. At the rest of the form, you don't need to use s or es. It's very clear. Only affirmative form you can use s or es if the subject third person singular number. I hope that you have already understood. Dear learners, now I am going to make you understand interrogative. That's mean if you change the form of interrogative, at first that's mean before subject you can use auxiliary verb. Such kind of auxiliary verb. That's mean present indefinite tense. If the subject first person or second person or third person plural number before the subject, you can use do. What? Do. And if the subject third person singular number, you can use before the subject does. What? Does. Mind it. And only third person singular number follows does, and the rest of the sentence subject follow do. Otherwise not. And if you want to transform in this sentence negative form, you can use after verb not. Not. And if you want to change the interrogative, this verb you can put up before the subject. You can use the verb before the subject. Then it will be transform interrogative. I hope that you have already understand. Dear learners, present indefinite tenses is very easy and sometimes is very difficult, because present indefinite tense affirmative form doesn't follow auxiliary verb. This is the main reason. And past indefinite also the same way. Form of affirmative, past indefinite don't follow auxiliary verb. But at the rest of the 10 sentences, affirmative, negative, interrogative, every sentences, that's from the beginning, auxiliary verb must be used. And that's why we can identify. Now I am going to write down present continuous tenses. I am drawing a picture. He is eating rice. They are playing cricket. Present continuous tenses auxiliary verb names am, is, are. And after auxiliary verb, use main verb or base form. Base form, draw. And then extra ing. Base form eat, extra use ing. Base form play, extra use ing. Mind it, every continuous tenses base form, after base form ing must be used. Ing must be put. Mind it. And if you see this kind of sentences, this form of, that's when am is are, after subject am is are, then put up ing base form, you can find out it's very easy. These sentences are usually used in present continuous tense. Mind it, am is only used after I, and if the subject third person singular number, then you can use is. And if the subject third person plural number, first person plural number, or second person singular or plural, both forms you can use are. Mind it. And how do you know the sentences? If you see am is are, but after am is are, another main verb also at, including ing, you can identify this sentence is very easy. You can identify it's called present continuous tense. And if you want to change negative form, after this form you can use not. If you want to transform interrogative, only am, is, are before subject you can put. Before subject you can put. And if you want to transform interrogative negative, then first you can use auxiliary verb, then subject, then not. And at the end of the sentence, only interrogative sentence, you have to put question mark. You have to put question mark. Mind it, two kinds of sentence has own sign, interrogative and exclamatory. At the rest of the three sentences, that's mean assertive, imperative or operative, you must put full stop. But interrogative and exclamatory, you have to put up its own sign. I hope that you have also understand present continuous tense. Now I am going to write down before you present perfect tense. I have completed my home task. He has done the work. Dear learners, have or has auxiliary verb of present perfect tense. How do you know? After have, has, if you see the form of verb past participle form, that's in B3, you will understand it's called present perfect tense. That's in present perfect, past perfect and future perfect. Every perfect tense auxiliary verb, after auxiliary verb of these perfect tenses must be used B3, that's in past participle form. And you have to know auxiliary verb, have, has, and another form. If you see, that's when I have a pen, he has a dictionary. After have or has, you don't find any verb of B3. That's mean in this way, in this form. And if you don't find, how will you identify, how would you say what kind of sentence? Mind it. In this way, if you find this form of sentence, it's called simple present. What's simple present? Why? After this auxiliary verb, don't use B3. That's when if you don't find a auxiliary verb, if you don't find after auxiliary verb the main form of verb that's been past participle form, is called simple present. Mind it. But if you find B3 form after this auxiliary verb, you will identify it's called present perfect tense. And today I am going to discuss before you another sentence. How do you identify present perfect continuous? And today I am going to discuss before you 4 tenses. And 3 classes I will describe every tenses. That's mean next class I will take on past related tenses. Okay, now I am going to introduce before you present perfect continuous. Present perfect continuous. You have been learning English for 2 months. He has been reading in this school since 2023. Dear learners, have been or has been are the auxiliary verb of present perfect continuous. Mind it, every continuous tense must follow base form of verb ing. That's mean after base form you will also add ing form. But how do you know? At first auxiliary verb have been, has been. Mind it, third person singular number always follow have been or has been, and at the rest of the subject pattern must follow have been. That's mean I have been, we have been, they have been, you have been. And if the subject third person singular number, that's mean he has been, she has been, Corinne has been, and it has been. That's mean subject third person singular number must follow has been. And another things also included present perfect continuous for and since. When do we use since? That's mean exact time and specific time. If you mention, you should use before that time since. That's mean morning, evening, dawn, and that's mean 2023, 2010, 1900, etc. But when you mention indefinite time, not exactly definite time and not exactly clear time, you must use for. And because when you start, you don't know, you don't exactly, you don't mention, and you haven't mentioned when you start. That's mean for 2 months, for 2 hours, for 2 days, for 20 years, for 100 years, for 1000 years. Because if you identify that's mean indefinite time, you must put for. When you will put up exact time or specification time, you must use since. Dear learners, I hope that you have understood very clearly. Please, you have to identify from your textbook, from newspaper, from different kinds of English related topics. You have to identify the tenses. That means when you read the sentence, and you have to identify very clearly its present indefinite tense, this sentence is present continuous, this sentence is present perfect, this sentence is present perfect continuous. Now I am going to end of my session. Before concluding my session, I would like to add some information. How do you identify? Again, I would like to mention, if you find after sentence, if you don't find auxiliary verb, if you find base form verb, but these verbs don't use and don't add s or es, you can say very easily its name is present indefinite tense. And sometimes That's mean after am is are, you don't find ing form of verb. You can also say it's also present indefinite tense. And have has, after have has, if you don't find verb form of past participle, and if you find after this verbs noun or adjective, you can also say it's present indefinite. That's the simple present. And after am is are, if you see a form of ing pattern verb, you can say present continuous tense. And after auxiliary verb have is, if you find the form of verb past participle, you can say it's perfect tense. What kind of tense? Present perfect tense, because present perfect tense auxiliary verb's name have has. And after sentence, after subjects, if you find have been, has been, and also for and since, you will say its name is present perfect continuous. Only present perfect continuous use for and since. Exact time follow since, and indefinite time follow for. Thank you. I hope that you have understood the topics. And next class I will discuss before you another 4 sentences about past tense related. Okay, Allah Hafiz.